Mendocino.
Hi, welcome to Inside Mendocino. This is the first edition of a new program. I'm Casey Meadows. I'm the editor at the Ukiah Daily Journal, and with me is Karen Ottoboni from KZYX. You've been with KZYX for, what, a dozen years now?
12 years doing public affairs and interesting broadcasting.
Yeah, so we're just here to talk about the issues of the day, talk about, clearly we have a big election coming up June 3rd. So we should probably talk about that. Those issues alone will keep us going for some time. We've got 1st and 2nd District and 4th District supervisor races.
Yes.
And of course, you live in the 5th District, so you don't have a race, but I know you've been interviewing these candidates.
I haven't been interviewing the candidates this time around. I have in the past done the different candidates, and I've been at the Board of Supervisors talking at the supervisors with different issues and stuff. Yeah. So I'm real familiar with the issues because of just keeping on top of the politics of the county.
Do you think, I'm hearing a little bit of this, the salary increase that the supervisors gave themselves last year, which of course we thoroughly trashed, although they did it anyway. But the people who said they needed the $68,000 a year, the extra $20,000, said, this will bring in good candidates, and you got to pay them in order to bring candidates. I mean, you know the list of candidates. Did that work?
It's very interesting. I was in support of getting a raise. I mean, what I did is I went back and I monitored what type of raises they'd got in the past. I went back over the years to see how the raises had happened. And I know you're familiar with the county politics for years. You see, they happen in spurts. They'll go 5 years without a raise, and everybody will go, oh, they can't live with that, and give them a raise, a big raise. So it didn't seem to me that it was out of line that they got some raise. I think there was a discussion on how it happened. Maybe it should have been an outside analysis of it, especially following up the Slavin study that was done internally. Whether it's going to bring better quality candidates right away, I don't know. I can look at some of the names on your list here and see that some of these people probably wouldn't have been able to run if they hadn't had this type of, or this amount of salary. Probably Estelle.
Well, Estelle has said, that
she couldn't have run without that increase. I don't know, probably Jimmy Rickles, I'm not sure. Ross Mayfield, he's got his own businesses going. I doubt it made any difference to him. John McCown's another one. In the 2nd district, 1st district, Dolly Brown. I don't know if she could have run. And then on the coast, of course, you've got Paula Dieter, and she's
a planner.
She's a planner,
so she's probably making.
I don't know. Is she making more?
I don't know.
You just got all the.
Well, we didn't ask for Fort Bragg City.
Oh, you didn't. Okay.
But she could conceivably be making the same. But
she could be,
depending on how long she's been there.
So I don't know if it's going to happen this right away. I think we've got. Look at the lineup of the candidates. I don't know that I've seen these many candidates in the races before. That's a broad field right there, especially for the 2nd district.
Yeah.
But that was pretty contentious. I think the 2nd district brought in the candidates because of the Masonite development.
Well, I think absolutely. I think you had the Masonite, and then a lot of, on both of these, all three actually, you have Measure B candidates too, or anti-Measure B candidates, I should say.
Yeah, you do,
marijuana
I guess.
Candidates.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Ukiah Morrison is clearly a marijuana candidate. Estelle was recruited by Richard Johnson for the purposes, in part, of being no on B, because no one else in that race is no on B. And then in the 4th, obviously Paula Dieter is no on B because she runs a dispensary. So I think to some extent, some of the candidates came in because of Measure B.
And those are the candidates that came in later, actually, I believe, too. Except Estelle was out there in front in the beginning, but for some reason I thought she came in mainly for the Masonite.
Well, she has strong feelings about the Masonite, but she's not alone on that.
Exactly.
I don't think she was recruited for that because McCowan had already come out strongly against the DDR project. I don't know whether Jimmy Rickle, where he is on the Masonite project. I think, talking about the Masonite project, we've talked with Ross Mayfield. I think he's making a very big mistake in he's saying he doesn't have an opinion on that. And I don't see how you can run for supervisor in the 2nd district right now and say you haven't kind of had enough information to know whether you're for that. So I think Ross may be making a tactical error there, because I think you have to have a position on that if you're running in the city of Ukiah right now.
Exactly. In fact, I'm looking at this cast of candidates here for 2nd District, and a lot of that, it was a reaction of Jim Wattenberger and his position on the Masonite, and that's what pulled a lot of these people out to run to begin with. And then he was waiting right up to the last minute to decide whether he was going to jump in or not, and he didn't jump in. So you've got this whole field of candidates. So
yeah, and I think Jim Wattenberger really, I think a lot of it was that issue, you know, I think really made him very unhappy about trying to do that job.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he felt he was being wrongly pursued by it, that, you know, he felt he was making a sincere effort to get as much information, but I think the people against the DDR project really made a stink about it, enough of a stink that it wasn't worth it to him.
They made it an issue. And then when you talk about not being worth it, again, at the $45,000 or whatever they were making prior to this increase, it probably wasn't worth it to get that harassed.
Well, Wattenberger doesn't need that money. I mean, he's got a nice pension from the fire.
That's true, from CDF.
Yeah. I don't think it's about money for him. But he talked about the death threats. I don't, you know, I mean, I have to believe him if he says that was the case.
Well, you're a public figure in Mendocino County. And if you don't get at least a few harassing late-night phone calls, you're probably not doing your job.
Well, you know, harassing late-night phone calls, and I guess people were leaving notes on his door, and I think some people had contact with his wife, and that started to shake them up a little bit.
It does.